This is a very difficult thing for me to do, is to sell a vehicle, because it's so beautiful. I mean, just the fact that it works and all of that stuff, you've been following the videos and you know how well it works. When I just look at it now and I think to myself, it's really it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Okay, so but no, this is my business. I have to do this because this is part of it. I have to keep whipping my mind to say, no, you have to do this. This is what you do for a living. You have to. Part of me doesn't want to. And the part of me that doesn't want to is saying, this is near flipping perfect. But we've established that, in fact, I can make it better. And I can also, because I can do something now, flex my muscles when it comes to creating great four-wheel drive vehicles. So the process of finding a replacement has taken about a year. I've driven many vehicles, spoken to a lot of people, and I've come to the conclusion that I have to stick with the 70 series platform. And this is why. I'm Andrew St Pierre White. Join me as I share my passion for building four-wheel drive trucks and then traveling to the remotest parts of the world. I started with the Mercedes-Benz GLE, the G-Wagon. I've owned two of them, 461 series. That is the 460, 461 series were the basic utilitarian NATO spec off-roaders, wonderful. And in fact, in a way, the current equivalent is the professional. The G-Wagons that are the G500s and all of those other blingy machines, they're a bit too blingy for me, and they're no good off-road, and they're no good, I mean, they're hopeless when it comes to overlanding and things like that, because they're just not designed for it. Low profile tires, everything about them is they're a city street vehicle, let's just put it that way. But the 461 and the professional is astonishing off-road. I found that of all the vehicles that I've owned, I would say that G-Wagon is the best off-road vehicle that I've ever owned. We are very lucky in Australia. We can get the professional in the station wagon form, 3-litre turbo diesel engine. We can also get the chassis cab, but it's a single cab. It has over a 4-ton payload. What was very important to me was that I want to put a camper style on the back of something. What could I put it on? So obviously the G-Wagon, the chassis cab, as nice as a station wagon is, not practical for me. Chassis cab, would it work on the back? No question. With that kind of payload, yes. But hold on a minute. If I'm putting a big load on the back of a pickup, the trouble is with pickups, and every single one of them, is that they don't carry that kind of load particularly well, particularly if it's far back, way back past the back axle, which is a problem with all of them, some of them worse than others, but not with a single cab. So the G-Wagon, I thought, okay, the G-Wagon would work with that kind of payload, but hang on a minute. If the G-Wagon will work with that kind of payload, so will a single cab Land Cruiser 79 work with that kind of payload. The G-Wagon itself, because it's exotic, you can't get a lot of stuff for it. Well, you can get some stuff, but not, I mean, let's face it, not much when compared to Hiluxes or even Ford Ranger or almost anything else. Not much, so I'd be limited. But I could get around that. I contacted the guys from Earth Cruiser that build conversions based on that chassis cab G-Wagon, and they said to me, yes, the suspension is very, very hard, but it has over a 4-ton payload. It's expected, but once you load it and once you do a bit of work, it's very nice. But I kept coming back to, well, why don't I spend far less money and buy a 79 Land Cruiser where all the bits and pieces are available and everything is available. And I love the 70 series, but there's one problem. And that is that I really don't enjoy single cabs. When operating a single cab, there's nowhere to put anything. You have the seat, you have the footwell, and if somebody is there, you have a center console, and you have this thing behind you, and there's nowhere to put anything. And whenever two trips that come to mind where I've done long trips with single cabs, they have frustrated me enormously. Because where are my cameras? Where are my binoculars? Where are my cool drinks? Where, you understand? So every time I have to do something with a single cab, just to get a simple shot I have to stop, I have to get out of the vehicle, I have to open the thing and then open something behind the cab. It's all about access. Even when developing a vehicle for camping, things like that, it's all about access. Access to what you need, access to what you want, how and when, that kind of thing. And it is with my work too, is access to my equipment while I'm filming. It's very, very important. So again, single cabs don't really work, even with lots of cupboards and an easy access thing tied right behind the driver's door. It would be a major compromise, and it's even a compromise with a troop carrier. The rest of it works so well that I was willing to make that compromise, and I actually have a place behind my seat where I can grab stuff easily. So I've made a plan. I can't do that with a single cab. So the single cab idea was out. I far prefer driving station wagons to pickups as a general rule. There's just something about them. They're just nicer to drive and nicer to live with in many ways. And the troop carrier is a kind of hybrid a bit, isn't it? It's not quite it's not a station wagon because it doesn't have back doors, but it's also not a pickup because it's full volume, and it's a little bit too small to be regarded as a van, although actually it is a van. So it's a compromise, and a lovely compromise at that. But so I thought, okay, well, what could I do if I was considering I still want to put this thing on the back? Could I buy a traditional station wagon and convert it? Major conversion, yes. The moment you start converting a body, it goes from, you can convert a chassis. It's moderately easy to convert a chassis, actually far more difficult to convert a body. Once I had the idea that a station wagon could in fact be adapted, I went to see the guys at Patriot Campers in Brisbane. They have a vehicle, you're probably familiar with it. It's called the SuperTorah. I've taken a trip to Brisbane to talk to some people about my new build. And the main reason why I'm actually here right now, the Land Cruiser 200 650mm chassis extension pickup. So what happens if I get these guys to build me a SuperTorah, and then I put the camper that I'm working on with the company on the back? It'll fit beautifully. In fact, it'll fit really, really well. That's what I'm thinking of doing right now.
So this one here is just out of the box standard 200, standard exhaust, no tuner, no chip, none of that sort of stuff.
Right.
And like I said, it's this one's very well oversprung because it's set up just to tow that big caravan.
Right.
They do like, I suppose, like any sort of commercial car or anything with the tray, they love weight. The more weight you put on the back of them, the better they ride.
Yeah. Okay. The Land Cruiser 200 would be a big departure for me because it would be my first dedicated vehicle without solid front axle. It would have, of course, has independent front suspension, and I have proved it to myself that independent front suspension with the kind of trips that I do is adequate. Really, it's more than adequate. It works very, very well indeed. So that wasn't a stumbling block. And the ride on corrugations and rough stuff like that, it's also like a 200 because the 200 is so nice on a...
Better.
Is it a bit better? Okay.
Definitely better because of the longer wheelbase.
Yeah.
You find you're not sitting in everybody else's ruts.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Those corrugations are caused by that same wheelbase, you know, over and over again.
Yeah.
And then when you throw that wheelbase balance out,
right,
the car rides better. It's same with an extended 79.
Right. If I'd based it on the 200, it would be the GX version. And I know you guys in North America, even South Africa, you must be going nuts, because here in Australia we get the GX, the basic version. It's 80-something thousand, 85-ish thousand Australian dollars, and we get a full spec 200 series without the full spec. Now, the advantage of the GX is 100 kilograms lighter, and the head unit I can change, which is very difficult to do with the upper models, to one that can handle Apple CarPlay. Toyota haven't noticed Apple CarPlay, I don't think, in any of their cars at the moment, and Apple CarPlay is fantastic, so I would want that, so that's an advantage. There's a $10,000 price saving. I don't get carpets, instead I get mats. Thank you. I like that idea very much. Far easier to clean. And it's just stripped out of a lot of the stuff that I don't really need. Which means is that you get all of the important parts. Same gearbox, same engine, same turbo diesel, same, all of the important bits are there, and none of the unnecessary flashy blingy stuff. It's gone. It's 100 kilograms lighter. It's just a more attractive package. And my decision is not made any easier when I walk into the workshop and they have something like this on display. But the undeniable fact is that Patriot Campers at this moment sets the benchmark for beautiful 79 series conversions. So I've ended up here, and I have a number of choices because Patriot make the SuperTorahs based on the Dodge Ram 2500, a bit too much for me, but overkill. The 79 series, as we see here, this is the stretched version with a chassis with a 350mm chassis stretch, and of course there's the 6-wheel drive. Let's face it, overkill. I don't need nearly this amount of payload, and the moment you add payload to a vehicle, you're also decreasing comfort to a certain degree, because you're adding weight and you're adding complexity, and if you don't need it, it's just pointless. So the extended 79 series ticks every single box but one. I was hoping to go for a little bit more comfort on the long run, just something that I would kind of like. I could fit Recaro seats because it's a shortcoming of my current vehicle. The seats are not great, so it's a choice. Nice idea, but you see, Patriot delivers a vehicle like that. It's not a custom in the proper sense of the word custom. Yes, you can select from a list of items, but they'll decide on all of the important bits for you. And I realized, as much as I like that vehicle, ordering one would rob me of something that is absolutely vital to me, and that is my personal love of creating and building vehicles. That is the result of that. And I love doing that. And I would be robbing myself of an opportunity if I did. So after a lot of thought, I thought, not for me, you have to do it yourself. A vehicle that was not on my list but is worth mentioning is the Land Rover Defender 130. Its long wheelbase means that it's an excellent load carrier. The main reason why it was never on my list was the fact that it is just so difficult to make it a comfortable ride, either on the open road or off-road. And of course, its legendary reliability question. I even considered a Hilux for a bit. Well, this was my conclusion. Every time I get in and climb into a 70 series Land Cruiser, I feel something. There's a buzz. There's just kind of a intangible kind of enjoyment of just sitting in the vehicle. A vehicle like this is like my wife's Corolla. Very nice car. And that's where it ends. Roast chicken, roast potatoes, cauliflower cheese. Seafood platter. I also thought a lot about the Iveco Daily because I actually really like it. I like the idea that it is not overly big, and yet I could fit a camper on the back of it that I could live in. But at the same time, as I've said before, those vehicles of that size are perfect if you want to live out of them. I don't want to live out of my vehicle. I want to be, yes, comfortable and do long trips, you know, but not live out of them. So I'm still not convinced that that size is ideal. And I'm kind of like the idea of actually testing one on a trip, but I'm not going to do that now. But my conclusion was that the Daily is too big for me, and that I could do almost as well in terms of comfort, but much better in terms of economy, in terms of practicality, by developing a smaller vehicle such as the 79. But the 79 has this big problem, doesn't it? It just doesn't carry a load well. The dual cab, because the wheel, the rear axle, is so far forward of the load bay, it doesn't carry a load well. It just doesn't. So I would have to make a major change to the chassis. There are chassis extension options available in Australia. There are many of them. I have selected a company called Multidrive to do it. One of the reasons why I selected Multidrive was that they do a lot of them. They are approved by Toyota. I'm not sure exactly what that approved by Toyota actually means. I do know that Toyota send vehicles directly to them to get converted before they're sent to the dealers stroke buyers. I know that much. So there is that level of cooperation between Toyota Australia and Multidrive. But the other thing is that because of the chassis cab configuration, I have to change nothing on the body, which means a chassis extension is not overly expensive and not overly complicated. And it solves a whole lot of other issues as well. This is the Perth Four-Wheel Drive Show every year in November, and I am basically looking for inspiration for my next build. I love going to shows, particularly when I have a project. And inspiration comes quickly in the form of a Norweld tray. Their trays and canopies are really quite something. Because Norweld has taken the practice of building trays and canopies to an art form. The new huge quick pitch weather shade 20-second awning, and their new rooftop tent, and some very impressive red arc battery chargers and vehicle management systems. The other reason for sticking with a 70 series that I love them. They are so nice to adapt. They're so nice to you know what I'm saying? They're just great trucks. And yes, all you guys out there that Toyota, yeah, I agree. They could make it so much better. And that's the entire point of this project. This, Mr. and Mrs. Toyota, is how you should be building the 79 dual cab. And I'm about to show you exactly how to do it. And that is before I add all of the cool stuff. By taking a very basic 79 off the factory floor and doing a few things and sorting out all of its issues and making it, not just solving its issues, but making it fantastic. This is what you should be doing when building a 79 dual cab. Make sure you subscribe or become a Patreon and follow the build of this Aussie Dream Tourer truck beginning in December.